Watch more programs like this on cable and stream with PCN Select. Subscribe at PCNTV.com.
Not from Lancaster County. Let me see your hands. Welcome to Lancaster County, the largest Republican-controlled county in the state. Now, over the last decade, over 60,000 new people moved to Lancaster County. Why? It's not because of our incredible weather. It's because of our incredible leadership. We have incredible Republican leaders in our county commissioners, our row officers. People love the lifestyle, the quality of life that we have here in Lancaster County. Over the last 2 election cycles, we have seen record Republican turnout in Lancaster County, and I guarantee we are going to blow those numbers away on Tuesday. Our state is ill. Our economy is sick. And we need a doctor, and Lancaster County will be the start to bring the doctor in to start to heal our woes. Thank you.
Down the street today, I saw a sign for...
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome retired U.S. Army Captain and State Senator Ryan Ahmet.
A great crowd. Are you ready in 6 days to send a powerful message to Washington, D.C. that we are taking this country back? I have had the opportunity over the last 4 years to see John Fetterman up close. And let me tell you, the contrast in this race could not be more clear. Could not be more clear. John Fetterman is not interested in protecting crime victims. John Fetterman is not interested in supporting our law enforcement community. John Fetterman will not prioritize keeping our streets safe. Dr. Oz will. Do you believe for a minute that John Fetterman has any interest in protecting our borders? Do you believe for a minute that John Fetterman has the prescription for inflation? No. John Fetterman would have us spend more. Dr. Oz would put us on the path to growth and opportunity. The choice in this election could not be more clear. And so I'm going to ask you, the folks in this room, to do everything you can over the next 6 days. Call 10 friends. Call 10 family members. Ask them to get out and vote. Ask them to support our entire Republican slate. Ask them to vote for Dr. Oz on Tuesday. Knock on every door you can hit. The stakes couldn't be higher. I had a friend of mine who I served with in Iraq back in 2003 who called me just a few days ago. Jay called and he said, Ryan, tell me that Pennsylvania is going to send Dr. Oz to the U.S. Senate and we're going to win back a majority in the United States Senate. Yeah. And I told him, I said, Jay, yes. On Tuesday, Dr. Oz is going to win. On Tuesday, the Republicans are going to win back control of the United States Senate, of the United States House of Representatives, and we're going to take this country back. So let's finish strong. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for everything you're going to do. And may God bless the United States of America.
Please welcome retired U.S. Army Reserve Colonel and Pennsylvania State Treasurer, Stacey Garrity.
Hello, Lancaster County. Hello. Oz, you can do better than that. Hello, Lancaster County! So it is so hard to believe that we just have 6 days left. And with an election day so near, we really have to focus. But that's a little bit hard to do when liberals are flooding the airwaves and stuffing the mailboxes with unrelenting panic. So let's just say that John Fetterman and the crazies who have taken over the Democratic Party, they want to put conservatism on the ballot. And you know why? Because they can't run on their own policies. And that's the underlying message of 2022, and the reason Pennsylvania needs to elect Republicans all the way down the ballot. After 2 years of Bidenomics and total Democrat control in Washington, even the hardest ideologues, from left to right, want a government that works. Because right now, it seems like nothing's working. The market collapse has stripped your retirement plans of 20%. Inflation has eaten 10% of whatever purchasing power you had left. Crime's running rampant. Our borders wide open. Foreign rivals, and I call them rivals because the Biden administration doesn't admit that we have actual enemies. And well, let's just say they're having a pretty good time pushing us around, aren't they? The fact is, we need conservative solutions. We need someone who can cure an ailing economy and get America walking upright and in full stride. The people of Pennsylvania need help. But I have good news for all of you. The doctor is in. And it's our job to make sure that Dr. Oz becomes Senator Oz. Because I can promise you this, a real conservative is a far better choice than the counterfeit common man the Democrats have put up. So who is Dr. Oz? He's an outsider. He's a celebrated physician, a successful businessman. He has stood for American values as old as the Constitution, the Second Amendment, the right of people to make their own decisions, the belief that government is here to serve the people and not the other way around. And Mehmet Oz just doesn't value life. He saves lives. And isn't that someone that we want in Washington, making decisions that matter to everyday Pennsylvanians? And shouldn't we have an elected slate up and down the ticket whose first impulse is to stand for morality and common sense? Because while we're the party of common sense, we're also the party of uncommon results. So remember, some of you do, in 1980, when our economy was stagnant, energy costs were going through the roof, and Iranian thugs were holding our diplomats hostage. We didn't turn to a liberal to get us out of the mess. We called on Ronald Reagan. And everybody, even the Carter voters, ended up better off when we had Reagan at the helm. The conservative cause has always been the solution. So folks, this needs to be a Republican year. We can't risk more inflation. We can't risk going back to $5 gas. We can't risk more fentanyl deaths and violent crime. We can't risk more American weakness abroad. We have one path forward and one chance to take it. We need a Republican sweep. Okay? And we need to make sure that Dr. Oz leads the way. So let's finish the job for Pennsylvania and for our country. Thank you.
White and blue, people shuffling their feet.
please welcome the former United States Ambassador to Denmark, Greenland, and the Faroe Islands, Carla Sands.
Hello, Lancaster County. I actually attended Elizabethtown College at one time. I see E-Town in the house. I'm so glad you're here to support the next United States Senator from Pennsylvania, Mehmet Oz. Mehmet Oz is a fine man. He was a gentleman throughout the entire campaign, and it was a tough primary, you guys. We know how tough it was. We're going to get him elected next Tuesday. How many of you are going to the polls on Tuesday? How many of you already sent your ballot in? Okay. For those of you who are going to the polls, would you please tell 10 of your friends tonight or tomorrow, friends at your mom's group, friends at your business, friends at your church on Sunday, I want you to tell them you have to get out and vote for Dr. Oz for the Senate and the entire Republican ticket. Are you with me? You all are going to get this done. Now, there's something else I want you to do. There's a lot of old folks in Lancaster County. There are a lot of Amish brothers and sisters. I want you to offer to drive them to the polls on Tuesday. Will you do that for me? Those are votes that they want to vote for Oz, but they can't get there. People like my mom and dad. Somebody's got to take them. So thank you for taking your friends. And if you don't know how to find them, you go on the campaign website and you offer to volunteer, and they'll set you up. How many of you have given to Dr. Oz's campaign? Thank you. I want you to go to his website, and I want you to give tonight. Whatever you can. Whether it's $10 or $1,000 or $2,900, I want you to give to the campaign. This costs money to get him elected, and we're up against not billions, tens of millions of dollars more from the Democrat Party. They are absolutely trying to take this, to steal this seat. But you know they can't steal it, because why? The Pennsylvania Supreme Court has ruled those undated ballots are not going to be counted. I want to tell you a little bit about Mehmet Oz. When I was on the campaign trail, my dad had triple bypass surgery. You know what? He came up to me, and this was a heated primary, and he said to me, "How's your dad doing? Tell him I'm concerned about him, and my thoughts are with him." When another one of our competitors had cancer surgery, and he told me this himself, he was too tired to drive home. He had 2 hours to get home. We were on the trail. And he didn't say anything to anybody, but Mehmet took a look at him. He is a world-acclaimed doctor. And he said, "You don't look so good. What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm going to drive home. It's 2 hours." He said, "No, you're not. One of my team is going to take you home." Folks, character matters. You're about to elect a really fine man. His dad grew up in a dirt floor home. He's self-made. John Fetterman has lived off his parents until he was 49 years old, and now he lives off of every one of us in this room and doesn't show up to work. Mehmet Oz is self-made. Did you know that when he got his degree at Penn, he got a business degree and a medical degree at the same time? How many people do you know can do this? He's intelligent, he's hardworking, he's self-made, and he's a fine family man. He's been married to his beautiful wife, Lisa, for 37 years, and they have raised a beautiful family together. These are wonderful people. He's going to represent Pennsylvania, protect our Constitution. He's going to protect our rights. John Fetterman wants the open borders. John Fetterman will let out more criminals. That's his plan. That's his goal. He wants to hurt our Second Amendment rights. John Fetterman will vote to the left of Joe Biden. We have to elect Mehmet Oz to the U.S. Senate. So thank you very much. God bless you. Lancaster County, get out Tuesday night. Thank you.
Want that
Please welcome Marine Staff Sergeant and State Representative Greg Rothman.
Hey, Lancaster County! As they say in the Marine Corps, we got 5 days and a wake-up, right? Let's do this. We're so close. Dr. Oz is surging because of you. The Republican wave is coming. Look, I've said this before. I said it a year ago. We're going to have the best election in the United States since 1866 for the Republicans. And if you remember, we had just won a war. And then we picked up 39 out of 50 Senate seats. So this is going to be a red wave. It's going to be a red tsunami. We're going to win everywhere across the nation, but most importantly, right here in Pennsylvania. Thanks to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the honor of serving in the State House. We got a great delegation from Lancaster County, including our Speaker, Brian Cutler, your own. A couple of state reps and I went to take a tour. We wanted to see it ourselves, the miracle of Braddock. So we drove to Braddock, Pennsylvania a couple weeks ago. Planned a whole day there. The most underwhelming thing I've ever seen. 1,700 people. John Fetterman won by one vote. I mean, there were only 200 people voted. He was the mayor. That's the miracle of Braddock, like it's some Silicon Valley or Research Triangle or something. Braddock, underwhelming. That's his qualifications. Look, he served as lieutenant governor, and serves the wrong word. As a state representative, we could do 5 or 6 events a day. He has entire calendars of doing nothing on his calendar. I mean, we know that he went and took a tour around the state meeting with people about legalizing marijuana because he thought that was a good idea. But this is a guy who has 0 qualifications to serve. He's not qualified to serve as a United States Senator compared to our candidate, who is infinitely more qualified, who is a guy of intelligence and integrity and a conservative who understands the values. But in recent days, we've seen in recent weeks, it's time for us to come together. He understands that America is about civility, and democracy thrives with civility, just like the free market does. This is a guy who now wants to bring us together. And that's what we need. We need it for this state. We need it for this nation, for our Commonwealth. Thank you all. Let's get out and give Dr. Oz those votes to win this election.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lancaster County's representative in Washington, Congressman Lloyd Smucker.
Six days to a big red wave. What a crowd. This is awesome. This is the crowd that's going to make it happen, by the way. Give yourselves a hand. And Dr. Oz is in the house. I just want to say the choice in this election could not be clearer. It's a choice between an America built on freedom or an America that we can't afford. How many of you think gas is too cheap? How many of you can afford a higher grocery bill? How many of you trust Biden, Schumer, and Pelosi to fix Washington? Listen, we've seen disaster after disaster from this administration. An unmitigated drug crisis at our southern border, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, rising crime in our streets, Democrat manufactured inflation. It's a direct result of their policies, and a war on domestic energy. They would rather beg foreign countries for oil and gas. Think about that. When we, right here in Pennsylvania, can lead the world, we have energy right under our feet here in Pennsylvania. Republicans have a very different agenda. Rebuild our economy. Lower your cost of living. Secure our border. Back the men and women in uniform. And this is an agenda that holds government accountable to restore the people's voice. And it's an agenda built on freedom. We have a great slate of Republicans running across the country, and we will take back the majority in Congress in just 6 days. And then we're going to pass an agenda that Americans can be proud of. But we're going to need the Senate as well to get those bills to the president's desk. And we have the right candidate here in Pennsylvania to help get our country back on track. Let's hear it for Dr. Oz. And you all know, I know you know this already, but the path to victory in both the House and the Senate runs right through Pennsylvania and right through this building tonight. And you also know that we're in a code red situation in our country, and who better than a doctor to fix it? Dr. Oz is the son of an immigrant who worked hard, pulled himself up by his bootstraps, and built a successful business and career as a surgeon. He has lived the American dream. He also hasn't caved to progressive cancel culture that wants to tell you what to think instead of how to think. He's running to empower each of you to make decisions about your life, and will look to you for solutions. That is exactly what we need in Washington. I'm proud to call him a friend, and our next U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania, let's give him a huge Lancaster County welcome, Dr. Mehmet Oz.
Bucker's been a mentor from day one. God bless you for all you do. Obviously, he's going to Washington. I want to work with Lloyd to make the changes he promised. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. So, a year ago when we started this campaign, I started traveling. And I'd been all around the Commonwealth, but I got an opportunity to go to all the four corners multiple times. And the most important thing a doctor does is to listen. Even surgeons, by the way, which is what I do, you think we heal with steel, and we do operate, obviously, and use scalpels, but it's our listening that makes us effective, because people will actually tell us what's going on in their lives, and then we can do a better job helping you. So the first thing I started to focus on was to listen to people. And as you travel around Pennsylvania, you get pretty optimistic, because folks know exactly what they want to do. They don't want government in their way. Sometimes there are crises, you got to get involved, but generally speaking, you want to live your own lives. You want to have agency over your future. And as I would speak to people, they start to share deeper concerns that they'd have. Like seniors would often say that they didn't think their Social Security checks could stretch far enough with 40-year high inflation eating away at them. And young couples, remember when you're young and you're just about to make that first payment, the down payment on your home? They couldn't do it because interest rates were rocketing up and they just couldn't make it happen. And then families, and this is the part that would hurt me the most, would say they were buying their kids video games to keep them indoors because they didn't think they were safe outside. I mean, the best thing my parents ever told me was go outside and play till it got dark, right? In Lancaster County, we know that. It's fun. You got a lot of place to play. You can't do that right now in some parts of the Commonwealth. And then the worst part of it all was parents would say they were worried about their mailboxes. Because on social media, you can buy drugs with fentanyl that's been laced into them that's lethal. And I'd actually hear stories in almost every big gathering about how families had been changed. It doesn't have to be that way. We control what we do next. And we have the opportunity in 6 days to send a very clear message about what we want and to put people in position to deliver on that promise to you. Now, I'm not a politician, which I'm happy about. I'm a surgeon. And you know what surgeons do? We focus on something really important, in my case, the heart, which is pretty critical, and you unite to fix it. You don't divide people because you're not going to be able to work as effectively. You make sure you all get along because you got a bigger goal in mind. I want to go to Washington and bring balance. Stop the partisan bickering and deal with the problems that you guys have been telling me about for the last year plus. That's what I pledge to do. And there's so much that can make that happen. Now, in contrast, John Fetterman seems to take the extreme position on so many items. Now, I'm not going to go through all of his spots. You've, I'm sure, heard them and can recount them better than I can. But I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do about these issues, because there are three topics that I have spent my campaign dwelling on. They're the kitchen table issues that every family in Pennsylvania is talking about. And when you go out from here and tell your friends, because I'm going to ask you all to talk to 10 people about what you've heard here tonight, these are the three topics that you should be focused on. The first is the economy. Now, here's the difference between this economy and ones that we've had in the past. Ours are self-inflicted wounds. We know how to fix the problem, right? And we can talk about spending and taxes, but I got to say, right here in Pennsylvania, we got part of the solution. Right beneath our feet, we can unleash energy in Pennsylvania. And the beauty of that is that you can drop inflation because energy prices drive about a third of it. We can help our allies overseas. There's going to be $10 a gallon gas in Europe this winter. A cold, cold winter in Europe. It's going to be over $5 here, I bet. It's already, I just driving out, it was over $4 an hour in a lot of the pumps. It's been a significant increase in the last month. It doesn't have to be that way, and we have the opportunity to make sure it doesn't happen again. But it also hurts communities, where you don't let them do what they can do. It hurts manufacturing. All of this, which is what allowed Pennsylvania to function at full speed, is ours to offer. Second big issue is crime. And here it's, to me, a matter of letting people do their job. Now, when I got the endorsement of the Fraternal Order of Police, one of the greatest honors for me, it was unanimous. They are so upset that they're not allowed to do what they signed up to do. I was up in Erie, and a woman, probably youthful-looking 50-year-old woman, was very emotional and asked, what's wrong? She said, my son's a cop. And I said, well, thank him for serving. I know that can be very trying on a mom to think he's in danger all the time. She said, my problem is not that my son's in danger. He signed up for it. I understand what he desires to do. What hurts me is that my son risks his life and people disrespect him for it. That's why cops are leaving. We can't hire new ones. Let cops do their job, make prosecutors do their jobs, and we as candidates have to answer questions, which is something we have an obligation to do from voters, from the press, and from each other, which is why it was so important that we would have a debate and make sure that we could ask hard questions of each other so people can defend their positions. And when I kept pestering and pushing and nudging John Fetterman to answer for his radical positions, he had trouble because these are difficult to explain in a time when so many Pennsylvanians are having their lives turned upside down. Cities like Philadelphia, the highest homicide rates ever. And areas like Lancaster, which are relatively preserved, are still suffering from deaths from fentanyl that are unheard of. You know, the state troopers who also endorsed me told me that in the last quarter, they've confiscated 7 times more fentanyl than 2 years ago. There was enough fentanyl taken at the border, confiscated at the border, to have killed every American alive last month. And again, it doesn't have to be that way. So in the Senate, I would pledge, because this is my obligation to you, you all do what you're supposed to do as citizens like I do. The federal government has an obligation, a covenant, to secure our borders. And by doing that, by securing the border, we also shut down the cartels that are functioning like, well, they're human trafficking operations that are gargantuan, taking the profit, buying narcotics, fentanyl from China, and then running those drugs into America, making every state a border state. And Pennsylvania is top 5 in the country in fentanyl overdose death rates. No one's spared. But these terrorist organizations will be shut down if we put our mind to it, which I pledge to do. So let me leave you with a couple ideas. We've got to have less extremism, more balance in Washington. It's what's going to allow us to cope with the challenges that this country faces. But you've also heard that my parents were immigrants, and they proudly came here, and I did live the American dream, an embodiment of it, because I believe that we have opportunities unparalleled in this nation. For us to continue to be that beacon of hope for the world, let's deal with the things right in front of our eyes here to ensure they don't affect the nation that we need to be, the ability for us to prosper. So let me leave you with 2 points. One is a request, and one is a closing argument I want you to make with those folks you talk to, the 10 people you're going to speak to. All right, first the request. I played football in college. And the last words you'd hear as you ran out in the field, what we heard here just a few minutes ago, the national anthem. Wasn't it a beautiful rendition, by the way? Yeah. Now, it's fascinating to me, because when I was a young man, I'd listen to this national anthem, and I'd think, well, freedom's the message, right? We're going to be free. But the last word of the national anthem is not freedom, it's bravery, right? Home of the brave. Because you can't be free if you're not brave. So what we have to do is say what we see. Now, it sounds so straightforward, doesn't it? But you can get canceled today for saying what you're seeing. You can get in the hot water. Even if you passionately believe something and say it with love in your heart, you can still be chastised and criticized. But if we all say it together, then at least we're honest with each other. And that's what we owe Americans. That's what we owe each other, to make sure they know what we really think, and we understand and listen, by the way, to what they think. So you can find out where the middle ground is. And the reason Pennsylvania is so important is we're perfectly purple, right? Our neighbors are Democrats. And we're going to win this election because we're going to get those neighbors, conservative Democrats in particular, independents, to vote with us, because they don't like what's happening to the country. Which brings me to point number 2. You're going to ask your friends whether they're happy with where America's headed. Now, if they say yes, take their car keys away, because they really shouldn't be driving in that condition. But 70%, more than 2 out of 3, are going to say, no, I'm worried about a country that we all deeply love. And you are too. That's why you're here. In that case, I want you to tell them, assure them, that I'm the candidate for change. That's what I stand for. I believe we're a land of opportunity. We still are the land of plenty. I believe we can balance our budget and not recklessly spend our children's money. I believe that we can be an all of the above energy state and shine that light so that others can follow it with us. It's the best way to protect our environment, but it also address so many other crises that our nation faces. We're blessed with it. Let's use it thoughtfully while preserving and making sure it's done cleanly. I believe that we can have safe city streets. I believe we can ensure that our border is secure, but we allow legal immigration, like how my parents came here. So we have workers for our farms, and we have skilled laborers. I also believe parents should have the choice of where their kids go to school, especially if the kids are at risk. And I believe we should have affordable health care. But most importantly, I believe in you. And I know that working together, we can get this done. It is what has always allowed America to thrive. It's what still will allow us to succeed. And on the 8th of November, in 5 short days, that's exactly the message we're going to deliver to the country. God bless you all. Thank you very much.